down some of what the corporate media has been spinning. So, I'm at a table. I think it was on 5th Avenue and 9th Street in the Park Slope section of the district. And I'm about 10 feet off the table. Jeff Brewer was there and a couple other folks, Tim, Logan, and a few other heads. And a gentleman came to the table and looked at the table and said, "Occupy Wall Street, George Martinez, well, he could drop dead." But I'm a diplomat, and most folks know that. And one of the articles that came out early in Occupy was they called me an ambassador, and I actually am. And so I'm very diplomatic, but I'm also from Brooklyn. First. So in true Brooklyn style, this actually earned me some votes, believe it or not. I took my glasses off, walked over to the gentleman, face to face, took my glasses off so I could see him eye to eye without any glare. Didn't want him to get confused. And I said, "Good morning, sir. I'm George Martinez. Why don't you tell me to drop dead to my face?" And he didn't. He gave it an if-then statement. "Well, if, then, you know, because I don't agree." And it started getting real tricky. And I said, as I put my glasses back on, "Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought you were going to say." Now, he said some other things, and the conversation ended when genocide was one of his solutions for a whole group of people in a certain part of the world, and we just realized that, yeah, all right, this is a dangerous situation. But local folks recognize that sometimes you actually need to stand up for what you believe in, hold people accountable, and look them right in the eye and tell them, "You really believe that? Let's challenge you on that. You really believe that poor people are poor because we have bad values? Sorry. You really believe that people on public assistance don't work hard? Sorry, we're coming for you. And you really believe that kids believe that education is the key to success and yet we should have high interest loans? Sorry, challenge that. You believe that corporations could run our democracy? Challenge them right in the eye, face to face, but you got to do it by walking the streets. You got to talk to people." So now, that was a beautiful exchange. I got about 4 or 5 voters on the side who were like, "Yo, I want that brother in Congress. He's not going to take any shorts. Let those Republicans, let the conservatives tell him something. He's going to go in there. I dare them to throw me out of the chamber with a hoodie on, like if I'm celebrating for Trayvon Martin. I dare them to do that. We'll bum rush that chamber and kick them all out before we leave." But we haven't had that feeling in Washington at all. Skeptically cautious, we should all view the political system. I am not telling you to believe in the political system outright. This is broken. We know it's broken. Be clear about it. But as part of our diversity of tactics, we have to engage all fronts. A movement will leave no stone unturned. So now, as we move forward, it turns out that we bumped into an issue of not spending enough money. Which is great because the premise of our candidacy is get money out of politics and put people and voters in. So the people of my congressional district decided that I would have enough signatures and enough support to get on the ballot. So the people put me on the ballot, but a New York television show, a New York station, New York One, Time Warner, decided that their prerequisite for having me on that show was whether or not I spent a certain amount of money. And they put it in writing. And what they invited was the unification of the hornets that we call Occupy activists. Because we're swarming, and they don't believe that because we're not in Zuccotti, not in Liberty, they don't believe we're activated. The reality is we're more activated now than ever. More serious people are doing things now than ever. And we started raising a ruckus. And within 24 hours, we had over 100 people ready to go to that studio. And I was ready to walk in by myself. And if I was going to get thrown out in handcuffs, I was ready to do that because I believe in people's right to participate in our electoral process. And more importantly, I know that it's critical to not have money determine who gets to hear the messages, especially now at the hands of corporate control media. So we heard a lot of twos and fro's, a lot of what-ifs, and a lot of what we call straight lies and fabrications on behalf of the news channel, and I think they were afraid. An act of God changed the situation. We pulled back, and in all fairness, I'd like everyone, out of respect, to just give a moment of silence to the loss of Congresswoman Lydia Velazquez's mother. She passed this morning, which is the reason that New York One postponed the debate. And out of respect to her, out of respect to the families, we did not have an action. And I'd like everyone to consider that as you have a moment of silence for her, because we have class. Despite what the media says, we're a bunch of rowdy hoodlums. We have class. We believe in what we're doing. We have the righteous fight, and we're obligated to walk in the righteous path, so we respect the loss of her family. But in a few days, we will be calling for public debates. In a few days, I will be calling for a people's debate, and I'd rather it not be on New York One, because I think that they've shut down the opportunity to hear truth. But I'd rather it be in a park, I'd rather we do it in the streets, and I'd rather it be broadcast by our media distribution networks, because we have our own global media. So now here we are, 2 weeks out. We know that the corporate control of the media is trying to shut us down, but they can't. We got 3 times as many signatures as legally required, raised just $500, but they say it takes $1.2 million to win a race. You can't even fathom that. That's why they're confused, which is great. I like them to be confused. I love it when they're disorganized, because they're not going to pass any bills against us this week because they're concerned for their jobs. We have nonviolent, peaceful, legal remedies to remove these folks out of office, and that's what we intend to do. My candidacy is the first of many bum rushers, and we're coming with the integrity of a movement that says there's certain values to build horizontally, that says we build autonomous grassroots structures that empower people so that we can build deliberative bodies and communities. They solve their own problems, reduce the reliance on government while they control the elected officials at the same time. We intend to bum rush the city council race next year. Stop and frisk will end, or they will not get elected. Marijuana will be legalized in the United States of America, or they will not get reelected. And we're going to solve the biggest problem that we have in our country, which is apathy. Because we've allowed so many folks in political establishment to run careers for 20, 30 years while we've been sick and tired of being sick and tired. Then we got mobilized and we find each other in the streets and we have a movement where we're energizing the protest. Well, we're going to come for jobs too. And we're going to take those people's jobs so that we can actually have the public policy power to create programs like Jobs for All. We're going to move the agenda forward. And it doesn't matter if we get elected now, but I know we will. And I know we will because we have people on our side. We don't have money on our side, which is righteous. It's exactly perfect and where we need to be. But more importantly, we have the fire of a community, and I represent every person in my neighborhood now, back to my district, who was a child of a single mom, who they said would never achieve anything. I represent us, and no one will marginalize me. No one will marginalize the young people in my community, and we will rise together. They have not seen what we can become. Occupy all airways and spaces in between is what we say, and we're coming. But we need your support. I need your $5, your $10. I don't need your corporate PAC money. If you have corporate PAC money, God bless you. But you're probably in the wrong place. Because we're not taking it. And we're challenged by people who have raised 92% of all their funds from corporate PACs. $800,000 is what we're up against, and we've raised just now a little about $7,000 in total, which is more than the $500 we raised when we got on the ballot, but it's good. What we do with that money is buy flyers, posters, and we bum rush the streets. So we need folks to help donate whatever you have. Your $5, your $10, your $20.12 is what we were asking folks, just to be commemorative of the year, as this is the Mayan calendar year, it's the end, and so why not throw $20.12 in? But maybe you only have a pound on it. Maybe you only got a dub on it. That's great. Maybe you have no dollars, but you got 3 hours in a day. We need you too. We need you to come outside. If you got 20 and you got hours, come outside too. We need everyone to be involved in this, so that we can make a statement loud and clear that money does not control the conversation, that we are not going to put up with corporate control of our electoral system, and that we will bum rush the streets with issue literacy and direct action as we reclaim the people's democracy and we build the people's movement to compete with the corporate control movements. And I got some brothers in here who are down with the movement, as we organized a few weeks ago in Washington, D.C., with people like Carlos Slim, for example. Carlos Slim is the Mexican tycoon who owns telecommunications in Mexico. It turns out that he gave $250 million as a loan to the New York Times. This person has been in charge of ruining Mexico's economy, crushing workers in his country, and now trying to influence our media. But of course, corporate dollars grows corporate dollars. So we have to build the people's institutions. That's why the Occupy Wall Street Journal is critical. That's why Occupy Wall ST is critical. Wall ST NYC is critical. .org, .net. Everything we do is important because we are rebuilding the broken and we intend to replace those pieces. This is what Bum Rush represents. I need you to walk in the streets with me. We need your $20. We need your $5. We have 2 weeks left to get out the vote, to raise awareness, and to start pushing these people to where they need to be, out of the way. My name is George Martinez. We all Bum Rush to vote. Thank you for being here. Please join us in the streets. Pop, pop, pop.
Nicely said, as usual.
The Honorable George Martinez, everybody! It's like a flower that has sprung up through the concrete. New York City has produced a thing of beauty. We all need George Martinez, everybody. One of the issues that George touched on was the need for marijuana legalization. We are blessed to have one of the foremost advocates for this change in legislation here with us this evening. She has been a guest on occupational hazards on WBAI with myself and John Murdoch on several occasions. She came out and supported us at the New York City Cannabis March. We couldn't be more honored to have her. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ganja Granny, Miss Arlene Williams.
Yeah! What a name! Oh, wow!
Hi! Are you high? Are you high? I'm high. I'm high on life. You know, I'm 75 years old, and I'm really glad to be here. I'm glad to be anywhere at this point in my life. But this morning, you know, I rolled out of bed. Normally I roll in bed, but I rolled into bed, and I thought, well, what am I going to say? I'm a marijuana activist. And that's all that's on my mind at this point. But working with this wonderful young group of people that we put together this March last May 5th was such an incredible experience for me, because we did make a difference and we made a change. I thought that the march was the best that I had seen ever. And I had the opportunity to meet George Martinez. I've met a lot of people in my 75 years, and I don't think anybody really impressed me, because I feel like we're all in this world together. Nobody's getting out alive. You know, we're stuck, so get over it. You know, we're here, all mixed up. We're all the same. But he impressed me, because he did what all of us should be doing. He grasped the opportunity when he saw it to make a difference, to make a change. So I hope tonight that everybody has deep pockets, because he does need the money. And I'm contributing, and I know that all of you will contribute. And just like he had said, whether it's $1 or $20, wrap it up in a $100 bill. You know, that's anyway, it was an honor to be here. I was really confused about what was I going to say. Well, what I am going to say is I want to adopt him. I want to be his grandma. I want to be his mom. I would be so proud. I have some wonderful children, but I think I would really be proud of George, and I know all of you will be too, because he's going beyond Congress. He's going much further than that, and I plan to be around and be alive to see it happen.
Everybody, please give it up for the Ganja Granny, who just made me blush. Now, you know, we've been talking a lot about the media today. There is no liberal media. Doesn't exist. With the exception of WBAI, Occupational Hazards, Joey Gay, John Murdoch. Self-promotion. But no. MSNBC, CNN, Fox, all brought to you by Verizon, T-Mobile, Halliburton, all of those things. It's not brought to you by welfare moms. It's not brought to you by the working poor. So in fact, you know, it is time to do the live stream. It is time to go around this media, and that's what this is all about. We do not need the mainstream media. People are starting to turn it off anyway. It is on its way to death. Let's push it over this cliff before they take us with it. That is what I'm saying. Turn off your TV. And we're now going to go with somebody who got into the occupation, got his hands dirty, worked tirelessly, has worked tirelessly for the Yippie, worked tirelessly for so many different events. He is a man whose mind is not confined by the boxes that have been put for him, but in fact is his own man in every sense of the word. It's a pleasure to call up my friend and fellow activist, Pete Dutro. Please give him a love and respect to his heart.
Hi, everybody. You know, I got into this movement because this movement to me was something that my family had been kind of calling for. We're several generations deep in activism. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback here. What's going on? Anyway, my grandparents were active in the churches in the 50s and 60s, working for social justice. My parents were anti-war hippies. You know, and I kind of, you know, sat around my whole life, like, waiting for, like, when are things gonna, like, really start to, you know, change, you know? I mean, I was very politically active at a very young age with them, and I went and lived in the Basque Country, and I was, you know, kind of over there watching things happen, and the question I always got was, when is America gonna start to, like, change its policies and so forth and so on? And that kind of started, you know, with the WTO, in the late 90s, and then, you know, we had that anti-Iraq protests, and then we went into the Republican National Convention, and it's kind of like, it's been punctuated in my life by these, like, short little periods. But when OWS came along, I felt like there was a real hope that something could actually start to coalesce. Because, you know, we started seeing a much broader movement happen in the world. We saw it start with Israel, and, you know, in the Middle East, and, you know, Tunisia and Egypt, like all these different things that were happening, like tenting, and then moved into Wisconsin, and then it finally kind of came here. And I was offered this hope that, like, maybe we could actually do something to change. And I came to OWS because I had cancer, and it kind of ruined me. You know, I didn't have enough money to actually, you know, get health insurance, get treated. And I saw OWS as kind of like a place where we can now start to talk about ways we can change, we can come up with some solutions. And I met George in that park, and one of the ideas that he really started, like, kind of like put in my head very early on was this idea of, like, issue literacy and the cultural relevance. And that to me is kind of what OWS was about. It was a big conversation pit where we got there to discuss the issues and what was really, you know, wrong with the system, and, you know, so for our voices to be heard. But there was also the realization, especially early there in the park, that, like, we had to do things, we had to do actions, you know, and we had to change things. And really, you know, a lot of people wanted to stay out of electoral politics and so forth and so on. But like, as we started seeing this whole thing unfold, we started realizing, like, you know, not all of us realized it, but I definitely realized, like, we can't just tear everything down. We got to start infiltrating. We got to start changing it from within before we can actually have real systemic change and actually rethink the whole thing. We have to get to a point where we can actually have a dialogue and participate in the votes, even if those votes abstain from certain things. I voted for Barack Obama the last time. I'm not voting for him this time. It doesn't mean that I don't want to participate solely outside of the electoral process, because to me that's not a reality. It's not something that we can actually work towards. It's not something we can actually change. It's not something that's going to do anything. And for me, as George kind of touched on earlier, is this sense of apathy. When OWS started, like, my apathy kind of left. I was like, there's finally something I can do. I can participate in. I can actually do something. My voice can be heard. You know, I was the product of a single mom. You know, I didn't grow up my whole life completely dirt poor, but I was poor enough to know, like, life is rough. And my whole life I was kind of taught, like, oh, well, if you work hard enough, you know, you'll be fine. You'll enter that middle class. You'll get that American dream. But, like, you know, as much as I worked, I felt like I never entered that middle class. There's always something that knocked me down. And the last thing that really knocked me down was, you know, my illness, where I had to get rid of all of my assets and, you know, basically become a pauper just so I could save my own life. And I had done everything right. You know, I employed anywhere from 15 to 25 people with my two businesses. My two businesses ended up going under because of, like, my medical debt. And, you know, the fact that I couldn't make too much money or I'd lose my benefit card. And since I had a pre-existing condition, it was going to be impossible for me to ever get health care. The cheapest health care policy that I've been offered since I've had my cancer is like $50,000. That's not real, you know? So when George came along and we started having an exchange of ideas, he was a brother that really, like, influenced me. It made me think about, like, well, because I wasn't so open to the idea of electoral politics when I first started coming around to OWS. I thought it was completely broken and not even worth the time. But, you know, having a lot of conversations with George, he really impressed upon me that really the idea is to infiltrate. If we don't like the people who are in power, we need to change the people who are in power. And I think, you know, taking a step forward and trying to elect candidates that actually really don't take any money, which is one of the big things that we were complaining about in the park. You know, George to me embodies a lot of the things that happened in the park. And he's been a man who's very, you know, sincerely and tirelessly pursued those principles and really tried to embody kind of what this movement is trying to do and do his own action where he sees that we should be bum rushing it. I mean, that is the whole idea of occupying thing. It's basically just bum rushing something.
Word up.
So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Yeah, Pete.
That was Pete Dutrow, everybody. Please give him the love he deserves. And now we have a man who was active in the occupation, a long-standing activist, and one hell of an artist. It is my pleasure to bring up Dan Pinch, please. Please give him your love.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. For those of you who don't know, I've been touring the play for a while in support of Occupy. It's called How to Stop the Empire While Keeping Your Day Job. I will not be doing that tonight because until tonight I didn't have any faith in electoral politics. So let's talk about something else. I have another play that I'm going to bring a very short piece from. It's called On the Grid. It's the only play I've ever done that led to people being arrested and called terrorists. In 1999, we sent it to the Czech Republic for protests. My artist got on the plane as an actor. He got off the plane as a terrorist. It's a play about the World Trade Organization. I would like to do the first 5 minutes of it. Thank you very much. Good evening. This is going to be a short version of my normal presentation. A normal presentation would explain everything about the World Bank, but you can't afford me. My standard speaking fee is the cost of a small German luxury sedan. I don't think you can afford me. Nevertheless, I'd like to tell you a story. I've been in the aid business for some 30 years now. My first experience was in the economic development of a small Mexican fishing village. Now, there was no political structure in this place, but to the degree that anyone had leadership, everyone looked up to a fisherman named Rafe. And I knew I had to convert Rafe if I was going to succeed in the economic development of this village. So one early afternoon, I walked down to the water as Rafe was pulling in his boat. I complimented him on his catch of tuna, and I asked him how long did it take him to catch them. And Rafe said, only a little while. And I asked him why he was coming back that quickly, and he said, I have enough to meet my needs and my needs of my family. And I said, but you could have stayed out a lot longer and earned more money. And Rafe looked at me as a man would look at a child. And he said, Senor, every morning I sleep late, I get up, I wish for a while, I sell my catch, I come home, I have a siesta with my wife, I play with my children, and in the evening, I stroll to the village, and I drink wine with my friends as we play guitar. I have a very full and very happy life. And I said, Rafe, you poor man. I have an MBA, and I am here to help you. You need to work harder. You need to get a bigger boat, and then 2 or 3. And with the extra money, you will hire people who will fish for you. You will no longer be the fisherman. You will be a jefe. You will run things. And you will cut out the middleman. And you will make money. And Rafe looked at me and said, why would that work? I said, because in a few years' time, you will own the cannery. You will be able to monopolize fishing in this part of Mexico. You will have a fishing empire. You will control the tuna here. And from there, you will be able to move to Mexico City and then to New York, where you will run your tuna empire from a penthouse apartment that faces Central Park. And I could see Rafe was intrigued. He said, but then what would I do? I said, Rafe, that is the best part. You will be in New York with your tuna empire, and you will have a stock offer. You will correct an IPO. You will make millions of dollars. And Rafe looked at me and said, millions of dollars? What would I do then? And I said, Rafe, then you would retire. You'd move to a small Mexican fishing village where you'd sleep late, fish a little bit, come home and have siesta with your wife, play with your grandchildren, and stroll to the village with your amigas at night where you sip wine and play guitar. I lost Rafe. My plans for that economic development of that fishing village were put on hold at that point. If you carry nothing away from this lecture, however, I want you to repeat after me. Capital flows like water.
Capital flows like water.
Capital flows like water.
Capital flows like water.
Capital finds its level.
Capital finds its level.
Very good. Very good. You are now farther advanced than most of the people in this world, because the time is coming when the lifestyles of the Rafes of the world will be permanently changed, when the clock will strike 13, and you will be ready for it, and they will not. Thank you for your time. Okay, real quickly, before I give the microphone back to John, I will be doing How to Stop the Empire While Keeping Your Day Job on June 29th at 7:30 p.m. in this space. And I will be doing the long version and I'll be talking about marijuana legalization and occupying the jury system. God bless you all.
Everybody, please give Dan love. This is how we win, bending art and our words to serve the cause. Now, this next artist is a man who lives the art, and you will watch that as he picks up his musical instrument. You will see that really they were born together, separated at birth, and then have found each other again. And when they find each other, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. It is always my pleasure to bring up my hippie brother, Duke Taylor. Everybody, please.
Alright, so my name is Duke Barrington Devin Taylor. Yeah, that happened. So I'm gonna play some music. So I figured I'd just pretty much lay it down in the middle. I'm gonna play one blues song and one folk song. So I was thinking I might do a Bob Dylan cover. Should I do that?
Do it.
I can do that?
Do it.
I can do that?
Do it.
Is that a good idea?
Yes.
The man goes and picks up his guitar.
Stand the microphone, stand down. I'll worry about that later. It's bullshit, right? Anyway. Yeah, this is bullshit. Alright, so anyway, the name of the song is called New Pony by Bob Dylan. I had a pony. Her name's Lucifer. Swear it hurt me more than it hurt her. Sometimes I wonder what's going on with Miss X. Sometimes I wonder what's going on with Miss X. She's got such a sweet disposition. Swear I never know what girls gonna do. voodoo. I seen your feet walking by themselves. Some people say you do voodoo. I seen your feet walking by themselves. Over here, boom. I wanna climb up one time on you. Come over here, boom. I wanna climb up one time on you. Sweat doesn't last and you're so bad. You know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna play another blues song. Only except that this one is gonna be instrumental, because I don't really sing. I don't really do that. I don't really give a fuck all that much, honestly. I just like to play music. So, the name of this song would be called 23.
Yeah!
Woo! How'd you go off this? Yeah, because take this to that.